What's up, guys? It is time once again for the top 10 figures of the year. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's throwing out their lists, and I'm going to throw out my list. Generally, I have like 5 different videos with Marvel Legends or Black Series or Turtles or whatever, Mythic Legions, and then an overall. This year it is one video. I am not doing any others. I have no interest in doing a bunch of lists this year. It's going to be one list to rule them all, and it is 10 figures. Not like last year where I did like a top 21. There is one honorable mention because he can't fit into the list otherwise. You'll understand why. And there are a few stipulations, which pretty much are the norm for my lists anyway. I have to own the figure. You know, if it's something I got rid of, it clearly isn't my favorite. And it has to be released this year. You know, maybe tail end of 2021 is fine. I do have one that falls into that category for me, where I didn't get it in time last year. And then the other thing that I'm doing that's a little bit different from the norm is that I am only including one figure per line. That's not property. So, you know, think Turtles. There's 15 different Turtles lines. It's not just one Turtle figure, but one figure from each line. So I had to make some hard choices, but we're going to do it. We're going to get started with the honorable mention because, you know, I just have to. I'm going to quickly mention it. The honorable mention is Galactus. He would dominate the list in general, so I can't really include it because he's his own thing. You have to have him to truly understand how amazing he is, but Galactus is, I mean, it's like the coolest thing that came out this year. It just doesn't really fall in line with your average 6-7 inch style figure. So, with the big G out of the way, the number 10 spot is going to go to Mezco Toys Atticus Doom, and I don't get super deep into Mezco stuff. I really only stick to Rumble Society, but this little guy is just so cool. He has so many different accessories, all the H.P. Lovecraft inspired accessories, the head, the lobster arm, the tentacles, all the effect parts, and he's just got a really cool look. The occult detective vibe that he gives off is just really fantastic. Soft goods are, of course, crazy, but the overall idea with this guy is just fun and weird and different. And of course, we're getting a glow-in-the-dark variant soon as well, so he's just a lot of fun. It was going to be between him and Death Dealer, but he edged it out just because he is so unique. Number 9 goes to Mythic Legions, and this is one that I really sort of hemmed and hawed over because I wasn't sure who it was going to be. I thought it was going to be the Headless Horseman, but it ended up being the unknown one. And there's a lot about this figure that I just absolutely love. Not to mention the fact that, of course, being at LegionsCon to get him in person is a whole different thing. It's a whole different experience when it comes to getting a figure these days, is to be able to buy something in person. But I love this loadout of parts. I love the color scheme. I like what they did with the wings. The overall idea and just the dark nature of this figure is really cool and different. But it's all of the parts that I really like, all crammed into one figure in this really dark, brooding, evil package, and I just absolutely love it. I got a couple of them. I'm gonna get more when the regular version comes out. I think he's just an amazing figure and a really cool entry point into the line for someone who wants to see what this line is capable of while also getting a ton of crazy parts at the same time. Number 8 takes us to that figure I mentioned that was going to fall into the bucket of he came out last year for some folks and it just didn't get to me in time, and that would be the Dragon Ball GT SH Figuarts Super Saiyan 4 Goku. And I say that knowing that I'm going to be doing the exact same thing probably next year with Vegeta, but this is a figure that, I mean, honestly, I've waited years and years for us to get into GT and for him to be brought into the line as a 3.0 wholly new interpretation, new styling, new articulation scheme in many ways. They really just nailed it. I think he looks fantastic. The bright pink fur on that guy just pops. He stands out on the shelf. He moves incredibly well, and he comes with a really good array of accessories and one of, if not my favorite, Kamehameha effect part that we've gotten in the line thus far. Not to mention the fact that it's GT. It's something that I really wanted them to explore for a while, and you have to start with Goku, and for them to really just nail him right out the gate really tells us where they're taking that subline going forward. Number 7 takes us to, well, Super 7, and we are jumping into the Turtles side of things, and there's a few Turtles on this list, but the first one on the list is Super 7 Ultimates Slash. Arguably the best Turtles Ultimates I think they have made thus far. He has some stiff competition from some of the other bigger, bulkier figures, But as far as what we got this year, I really think he is a shining example of a lot of what's right with the line. He looks fantastic. I know there are some complaints that he's maybe a little bit off color, but I really like what they did with him. He's big, he's beefy, he's bulky, he has a crazy array of accessories. They really nailed a lot of what that vintage figure had going for it because, of course, the Playmates toy was so unique. Just like all the other versions of Slash, they're all weird and different, but this one is very nostalgic for me in particular, which of course is a huge component of this line, but they really got him. I mean, even for such a big top-heavy figure, he's bulky, he's heavy, but he has a lot of balance to him. Joints are really nice, articulation is good, especially for a big fat turtle, but he looks great, and that's ultimately what it comes down to for me, is that he looks great, and Super 7 absolutely killed it for me. He's a big focal point on my Ultimates display right now. Number 6 switches gears and goes towards the Hasbro side of things with the figure that removed the G.I. Joe Classified figure that I had on my mid-year list. This is the G.I. Joe Classified series Serpentor, and I mean, I don't think there's going to be any confusion as to why he's on this list. Once I got him in hand, it became quite obvious that he's the best figure in the line, at least as far as I'm concerned. He moves incredibly well. He's big and bulky. He feels like a different kind of figure, not to mention the fact that he comes with some wild accessories. He's got various display options. I did wire up my cape. I wish that did come standard, but it was easy to do it on my own. And then, of course, he does include the air chariot, which is incredibly well done. Looks fantastic, has some great size. He even had a cool box that he came in. There's a lot about this figure that was just really the complete package from start to finish, from packaging to the figure, to the vehicle, to the accessories, to the deco, all of it. They absolutely killed him, and one of my favorite releases of the year in general from Hasbro. Number 5 takes us back to Bandai Tamashii Nations, but to Robot Spirits this time, and to a figure that is still on my list from mid-year. That would be the Ground Gundam from 8th MS Team, and this is a figure that I've really been waiting for a long time, and they really killed it from top to bottom. It comes with an insane array of accessories. It has some really wild articulation. It has a lot of different gimmicks when it comes to the stuff it comes with, and it's also a figure that, you know, I never army build anything of this nature just because of the price, but I got a bunch of them. Well, not a bunch, but I got more than I should have because I've really been looking forward to this. It is a army builder Gundam, which is not all that common, and it's from one of my favorite series as well. So of course I had to really go in hard on it, and they absolutely nailed it. It's got a lot of accessories, it moves really well, and it looks pretty much spot on. I think they absolutely nailed it. It's one of my favorite Gundam releases in quite some time. Number 4 takes us back to Turtles and to NECA this time with the cartoon line specifically, and this is probably going to be on a lot of folks' lists, but my number 4 pick is Usagiojimbo from the cartoon series. This guy, I mean, this is one that I know everybody was looking forward to this year. I went out of my way to make sure that I got him early from AliExpress, and he just did not disappoint. He comes with tremendous accessories. You get some soft goods with him. He looks fantastic. I suppose that's important, right? He looks fantastic. Looks like he jumped right out of the show. And then, of course, he moves really well. He's styled really nicely. He has some great sizing, especially in comparison to the Turtles. You know, he's a short little guy, but he packs a punch. There's a lot to enjoy with this figure, just out of the fact that, of course, we actually are getting Usagiojimbo stuff in 2022. The fact that we're still getting that alone is worth the price of admission, and I think NECA absolutely nailed it. You can tell that they definitely went a little bit above and beyond with our Samurai Rabbit. Number 3 sticks with Turtles and NECA, but a different line. We're going to the movie side of the house today with the Secret of the Ooze Shredder. And I was really torn on this one. I thought it was going to be the Turtle 4-pack, but there's so much that I like about Shredder in comparison to everything else that it had to be him. I think he just looks fantastic. He comes with some crazy accessories, and he's the one that sticks with me from my childhood as being like kind of the Shredder that I always thought of when I thought of the movies. For the longest time, I probably could have told you that Shredder was not red in that first movie as a kid. He was always purple, because that's what he is in the cartoon. And of course, that's what they did for him in Secret of the Ooze. And NECA absolutely killed that look. They absolutely killed the helmet redesign and that soft goods cape. I mean, the cape is ridiculous. They really do a great job of matching that weird fabric across all of these releases, and this one is no exception. And of course, he goes perfectly with Toka and Razar. He is the final piece to that little puzzle. And now all I truly need is a Vanilla Ice figure, but I'm really happy that we got that particular version of Shredder. He rounds out a lot more of that crew when it comes to Secret of the Ooze, and NECA did a great job with him, just like they did with the first movie's figure. Number 2 takes us back to Hasbro, and this might be one where people question why in the hell he is on a list of any kind, because technically speaking, he's not the greatest figure. There's a lot of things that could have been improved about him, but he's one of my favorite Marvel characters. I got to do the first in-hand review of this figure, so it holds a lot for me personally, and that's, well, it's my list, so here we are. So number 2 is the Marvel Legends Speedball figure, and this should probably come as no surprise. He was on my mid-year list as well, and I mean, it's one that I've just sort of, oohed and awed over for the entire year. I've been waiting for this figure. I literally told Dan, Ryan, and Dwight in an interview that he was my most wanted Marvel Legends a few years ago, and they made it happen, and I got to do that first review, and it's a cool figure. It does have some problems. It definitely needed some effect parts. I figured that out on my own thanks to Can of Beams, but the figure was always going to be something that appeared on my list because he's a character that's stuck with me for whatever reason since I was a kid. Anything New Warriors is always something I've been interested in, and he gets us that much closer to completing that team. They killed the head sculpt. I love the goggles. The colors are fantastic. The only thing he truly needed was some actual accessories, but at the end of the day, I am so happy to just be able to put him on the shelf and say I finally have a Speedball figure. And then rounding out the list, number 1 is going to be taking us back to Super 7, but not Turtles. We're going to Thundercats this time with the Mum-Ra, the Ever-Living figure. And honestly, this guy, I mean, he absolutely blew me away. I know some folks had some issues with theirs. There were some noted QC issues on some releases out there. I didn't have anything but a pleasant experience with my figure. I think he's tremendous. He's everything I wanted. I made it very clear in the review that he is the articulated version of that old Icon Hero statue that the Four Horsemen made years ago, and he's everything I wanted. That's exactly what I wanted him to be. I wanted that statue to be articulated, and that's exactly what they did. He comes with Mamut, so you get the dog, you get the Sword of Plundar. He's massive. In this huge line of figures, everything is 7 inches and up. He's enormous. He's the biggest thing we've gotten so far until we get into Silverhawks finally. But I think they really killed it. The colors look great. The soft goods cape is fantastic. And it's just a figure that I've wanted since the beginning of Thundercats, whatever you want to call it. Thundercats Classics from Mattel, Thundercats Ultimates from Super 7. Ever since this line has been in the works, 6-7 years ago at this point, I wanted a Mum-Ra figure, a big honkin' Mum-Ra figure. And he's here, and I got him, and I love him, and he sits on my shelf, towering over all of my other Ultimates. So that is my list. Like it or not, take it or leave it. That is my list for 2022. My personal favorite figures of the year. This was a hard list to compile because narrowing all this stuff down to just 10 entries is definitely a little bit difficult. Certainly when you just, tend to like toys in general. So that's my list. Let me know what your list is. Let me know what you don't like about my list. I'm curious to know that side of things too. And I will catch you guys in 2023.